More Thanos backstory, a Captain Marvel scene, and multiple epic trailer shots are just some of the things that got the chop from the final version of Avengers Infinity War. Yippee-ki-yay movie lovers, it's Jan here, and it's time to talk deleted scenes and rejected concepts that never made it into the magnificently ambitious third Avengers movie. I've got an Infinity War giveaway running for all my subscribers, so hit the bell and I'll have more details later. And obviously spoilers ahead for the movie, so take care if you haven't seen it yet. In Avengers Infinity War, the grand villain Thanos takes centre stage in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and boy does he make an impression. Prior to this, we just had brief scenes of the Mad Titan in both Avengers post-credits, and short scenes with him in Guardians of the Galaxy. So it's a bit of a shame some moments with the big purple guy teased in the trailers didn't make it into the final film. For instance, although Ebony Maw told the Black Order to let Thanos have his fun smashing the Hulk on the Asgardian ship, this next epic line from Thanos didn't make it into the movie.
Fun isn't something one considers when balancing the universe. But this does put a smile on my face.
And this shot of Thanos coming in with an almighty punch during the Titan fights was also cut. Plus there was a more extensive backstory for the very big bad which we didn't get to see, because after considering it, the Russos felt it wasn't necessary for the movie. Some fans might have liked a touch more background about Thanos' earlier life or younger years on Titan. Thanos did mention in the movie that he was labelled a madman for his suggestion about fixing the planet's resources problem. But we didn't get to learn about, for example, how he was also ostracised for being like the Quasimodo of his time, as Josh Brolin called him, which might have made the audience feel for him more. Obviously, more backstory for the villain would have meant a longer runtime though, and Marvel does also have a non-canon book called Thanos Titan Consumed, which will reveal more of his origins before the events of Infinity War. The impressive shot of Thor standing tall after the creation of Stormbreaker with lightning crackling around him while Groot and Rocket look on was also chopped from the final film. And this shot in Nidavellir of the Asgardian god wearing his red cape didn't make it in either. I suspect both these moments came just before Thor used Stormbreaker's Bifrost powers for his grand entrance in Wakanda. Although both those lightning and cape shots are really cool, I can understand why they were cut, as Thor's arrival in Wakanda becomes even more breathtaking when we go from having seen him about to be revived with his new weapon, and then next time we see him he's slamming down Stormbreaker, taking out the Outriders that are overwhelming our heroes.
Ready?
And that line of Thor preparing himself to restart the forges on Nidavellir also hit the cutting room floor. And there are many scenes that were chopped out of the Wakanda parts of the film as well. First of all, there was this scene of Bruce Banner standing next to the Hulkbuster arm, talking to what looks like Black Widow there. I wonder if this might have been a little private moment between them which addressed the pair's previous relationship. Banner and Romanoff were separated after the Hulk ended up on the Quinjet at the end of Age of Ultron, and she doesn't see him again until Team Cap visits the new Avengers facility where they have an awkward little reunion in this film. Then there was also a shot cut of Black Widow, Bruce Banner and War Machine watching the alien invaders descend on Wakanda. And this moment with Cap trying out his new shield in T'Challa's palace was also cut from the final movie.
Let's go.
Another Captain America and Black Panther deleted moment was this shot of the pair on the Wakandan craft as they zoom out to face the Outriders. We also never saw this very cool shot of Hulkbuster jumping and landing. Instead, there was a different shot in the movie where he jumps into the battlefield which is filled with Outriders. Plus of course there was also that amusing moment when Hulkbuster runs and falls flat on his face. And perhaps something many of us were hoping to see was that epic shot of Cap leading the charge with all the heroes around him, plus the Wakandan army and a hulked out Banner. Other than on the Asgardian ship, we never actually saw the Hulk do battle, because Banner failing to coax out the Jade Giant was an interesting running theme in the movie, so this scene here was presumably edited or shot solely for marketing purposes. So if you wanted to see the Hulk burst out of Hulkbuster like this toy, you were out of luck. Now we do get a nice reunion between Steve and Bucky in Wakanda, but it looks like there were other Bucky scenes we didn't get to see. According to Infinity War press set visits, after Steve and Bucky hug, Bucky says, "So, little green men, huh?" To which Black Widow replies, "Not little and not green." And then there was a bit of Falcon and Bucky interplay cut from the movie, which would have shown Sam Wilson jokingly asking Bucky, "Are you gonna snap and kill someone if they say bologna sandwich?" Which is a comical callback to the activation codes used to trigger the Winter Soldier, something we last saw in Civil War. Also during set visits, the Russo brothers were asked who had the best costume in Infinity War, and they replied Captain Marvel, adding, "Captain Marvel on set, is that official? If it's not official, it's official now." As I mentioned in my full breakdown of the movie's post-credits scene, we did of course get a tease for Captain Marvel via Nick Fury's pager. But it sounds like originally she was going to be part of the film in some way, maybe making an actual appearance in the post-credits scene, which perhaps might have ended on a shot of Brie Larson receiving Fury's message. If you go back and re-watch the trailers for Infinity War, it's clear that a lot of the shots in the movie were changed in the marketing material to avoid revealing spoilers. We know that Thanos had 5 Infinity Stones when he finally arrived in Wakanda, but when Cap went up against him, only 2 were in the trailer. Other modified shots include this awesome shot of Spidey swinging through Titan, which in the final movie turned out to be a shot of Spidey with his iron spider legs, plus he was also carrying Mantis. In this New York scene in the movie, Tony's new nanotech Iron Man suit was already wrapping itself around him, but in the trailer we just see Tony with his normal clothes. And in the first trailer we saw an unarmed Cap fighting Outriders, whereas in the final movie he had his new shields in these shots. These edits to the marketing material are similar to how Thor's missing eye was handled in the trailers for Thor Ragnarok. Interestingly, another way the Russos tried to stop the plot leaking out was that they actually gave fake scripts to a lot of the actors, and it's possible that some of them didn't even know they were going to fade away at the end of the film when they were shooting those scenes. Other deleted scenes and alternate takes which the Russos have said may well show up on the Blu-ray came about because of the large amount of improv on set. The directors were bringing together characters from movies with very distinct tones, and often those characters were meeting each other for the first time, and so the filmmakers spent extra time making sure they got the chemistry right in those scenes, allowing the actors to improvise for several takes after doing an initial couple of takes from the script. For example, Thor's never heard of or met the Guardians when he lands on their ship.
Oh, wait first, get it off!
How's this dude still alive?
He is not a dude. You're a dude. This is a man. A handsome, muscular man.
It's like his muscles are made of Kotati metal fibers.
Stop massaging his muscles.
And given the humour we saw play out in that scene, I can imagine there's some very funny alternate or extended takes. It was initially reported that the running time for Avengers Infinity War was going to be 156 minutes, but then a few weeks later it was officially announced that the final runtime was 149 minutes, 7 minutes less, bringing in the movie to just under 2.5 hours. It seems like this could be a possible explanation for where some of these missing scenes went, as the filmmakers may have been editing out bits they felt brought the movie's pace down. Another thing that never made it into the movie from the early drafts was an idea the screenwriters came up with for a giant snake. In an interview with Entertainment Tonight, co-writer Christopher Marcus said, "We were sort of running on empty and we were like, snake? Big snake? Let's try a big snake." And then everyone went insane. I imagine the writers might have been thinking of a character like the Asgardian Midgard Serpent from the comics, which was hinted at briefly in Thor Ragnarok.
There was one time when we were children, he transformed himself into a snake, and he knows that I love snakes. So I went to pick up the snake to admire it, and he transformed back into himself, and he was like, "Yeah, it's me!" And he stabbed me. We were 8 at the time.
The enormous snake didn't make it into the final draft though, and it's probably for the best given how packed Infinity War was already. Also, depending on how its scenes played out and the creature's design, it might have felt too visually similar to the Leviathans from the first Avengers. Now, do you wish any of these deleted scenes had been included in the movie? And what do you think about fake scenes being shot? Let me know in the comments below, and make sure you're subscribed for a chance to win a very cool Infinity War Funko Pop. Tap left to check out my deep dive into the movie's ending in Avengers 4, and tap right for the full playlist with Easter eggs, post-credits breakdowns, and cast interviews. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Yippee-ki-yay, movie lovers!